This is chapter 8, absolute value equations and inequalities. Solving absolute value equations. Here we have the absolute value of 2x minus 7 minus 5 equal 14. First, let's get rid of the negative 5 by adding 5. And so 5 plus 14 is 19. Negative 5 plus 5 is 0. Now, the way to solve the absolute value equation is by split into two equations. Once you split, the absolute value sign is no longer there. So we have the 2x minus 7 equal 19, and we have the 2x minus 7 equal negative 19. Now let's solve one by one. Again, plus 7, because we have negative 7, that's go to 0. 7 plus 19 is 26, and therefore divided by 2, so x is 13. For this one, once again, we adding the 7. 7 plus negative 19 give us negative 12. 7 minus 7 is 0. So therefore, only 2x divided by 2. So x is 6. So we have two solutions. X are negative 6 and 13. What about the absolute value of x plus 5 equal negative 6? One thing to remember is that the absolute value is always positive. This case is negative, so we have no solution. Okay. What about if I have two absolute value equal to each other, like this problem? We pretend that we only have one absolute value. So therefore, we split again. One with the positive x minus 7. One has the negative x minus 7 right here. Solve for x for this, for the first one here. Let's say minus x minus x so negative x plus 2x, that is just x. Negative x and x goes 0. And so we subtract the 5, and x is negative 12. Now for this equation right here, we have to distribute the negative right here to the x and also to the -7. So therefore, we have negative x, and -7 give us a +7. Now for this right here, we have to add the x. So let's plus x plus x. Therefore, x plus 2x is 3x. X plus -x is 0. And then we have to subtract the 5. So minus 5 minus 5. Again, minus 5 right here. So 7 minus 5 is 2. Divided by 3 then. So x is 2/3. And now we have -12 and 2/3 for our solutions. Now let's solve absolute value inequalities. We have the absolute value of x minus 4 less than 5. Once again, we have to split into two parts. Or this case, we can put into one part. But this time, we have to introduce another less than. And then the -5 on the left side. So that -5 is less than -5. Actually, -5 is less than 5. That is true. You can think of as two equations. So the first is the x minus 4 less than 5. And then the second one is -5 less than x minus 4. And so we can do that by working together. So plus 4, oops, oh boy, 4, 4, 4. So that way, -5 plus 4 is -1. This one will go to 0, so x left over, and 4 plus 5 is 9. Now, if you remember from chapter 2, we have to grab this one. So there are no equal, so we use open circle. And since x is in between -1 and 9, so the solution then just shaded between -1 and 9. And so our interval notation is then from -9, actually from -1 to 9. Parentheses because of the open circle. What about something like this? The absolute value of 3x minus 2, and then plus 9 less than or equal 7. First, let's subtract the 9. Again, minus 9 minus 9. And now we have 9. Actually, 7 minus 9 is -2. And this one goes 0. So now the absolute value is less than -2. Is that true or not? Absolute value is positive. Something positive, is that less than -2? No. Therefore, it is inconsistent and we have no solution. What about something like this? The absolute value of x plus 3 plus 2 bigger or equal to 7. Once again, I want to subtract the 2. Oops. Minus 2. So minus 2 minus 2. And now the absolute value of x plus 3 bigger or equal to 5. How do I solve this? Last problem we have less than, but now we have bigger. We have to split again. So for this right here, we drop the absolute value. For the one on the left side, now I have the -5. And so I have to flip the sign. So before it was bigger than, now I flip, I got less than. Now with inequality, every time you introduce a negative number like this, you want to flip the sign. And so let's solve then one by one. Subtract 3. So 3, actually negative 3 and negative 5 give us negative 8. So x is less than or equal to negative 8. Again, minus 3. So 3 minus 3 is 0. 5 minus 3 is 2. And so x is bigger than or equal to 2. And now let's graph them. Let's graph these two one by one. Less than negative 8 on the left side. Bigger than positive 2 is on the right side. Because we have equal, then we used our closed circle. And so our interval notation then will be from negative infinity to negative 8 bracket union another bracket from 2 and then positive infinity and so when you solve the absolute value of equation you have to split into 2. Same thing with absolute value inequalities. Now let's graph. Well, before that, what about this one? The absolute value of x plus 10 bigger than negative 6. Again, the absolute value is always positive. So something positive is that bigger than negative 6 or any number that is negative, which is true, huh? So it is true that a positive number, a positive always bigger than a negative. So therefore it is true. And we have all real solution for this, which is from negative infinity all the way to positive infinity. And now let's graph. So let's graph the f of x equal absolute value of x minus 2 plus 3. Now you don't have to know how the graph looks like. You just have to plot some points. So let's do that. Let's start with the inside absolute value and make it equal to 0. And so x minus 2 equals 0. So x is then 2. We have to pick our x value, and the first x value, that will be the x value that makes the absolute value go to 0. Sorry. And that's why we put the inside absolute value equal to 0. Solve for x, you got 2. Now let's pick a number that is bigger than 2 and also less than 2. You have to pick at least 2 more numbers for x and then solve for the f of x. Here's the table. When x is 0, x minus 2 absolute value plus 3, then 0 minus 2 plus 3 will be 5. 0 and 1, these two are less than 2. 3 and 4 are bigger than 2. So we use 2 as our reference number, put it that way. For this case, we pick 2 numbers below the 2 and 2 numbers above the 2. This is the y value, so this is your x, this is your y, or we call that f of x. Just like that. So these are your y value. And then this is also your x value. We have, see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5. We have 5 points. 0, 5, 1, 4, 2, 3, 3, 4, and 4, 5. We have 5 pairs, so grab those points, connect those dots. Now we have our graph, just like that. So the absolute value functions, the graph of that is a V shape. So you might want to remember that V shape represents the absolute value equation. And that's how you graph the absolute value functions or equation.